Greetings, yes, sexy bastards. Welcome back to another business vlog. On this fine day, I am redoing my end of fall 2023 semester vlog, and or slash like looking forward to 2024 and all that shit, because I just looked at them and I just rambled about a bunch of bullshit. So I'm gonna recap 2023 and my anticipation for 2024 and the things I talked about that in that video. Essentially, I talked about a few things. The first was what happened during fall 2023. That semester was honestly a pretty rough semester. I was stressed about losing all of my friends because my main friend group that I'd had for the last year at that point was gradually dissipating and people were moving away, and I was like, shit, I'm gonna have no friends in like 2 months. Another thing that went down last semester was lots of school. School was brutal, not last semester, but fall 2023 semester. I'm about to do, after this, I'm gonna do my spring 2024 semester video. But fall 2023, yeah, man, I was stressing about losing a lot of friends, and just kind of being lonely in spring 2024. I spent a ton of time in classes. I'd say the majority of my social life during fall 2023 was in class at the labs building robots, which was fun. It was cool. I always wanted to have that, I guess, to some degree, but it was, I would say, lonely because it was fun. And it was like a social life. We all worked together, and the people that I worked with were a lot of fun. They were outgoing, charismatic. They could have a laugh while we built our robot. So these were good things, but you know, it's not like going out swing dancing or going on hikes or doing this or doing that. It's just kind of sitting there building robots and being like, holy shit, everything is broken, nothing works, I don't understand electricity, which is fun too. So I enjoyed that, but I didn't love the lack of balance in life. I didn't make a huge amount of progress on the app. I mean, especially in comparison to the kind of progress that I make now. Back then, I was still figuring out how to code to some degree. I was still learning more advanced coding skills and techniques and learning how to build a full-scale app as opposed to just writing code that does one function or does this one thing, being able to structure and architect a whole software. And that was really hard. That was a huge learning curve. So I think I learned a ton last semester in terms of just like becoming a better app developer, and all the technicalities and implementing like the subscriptions and things like that. So it's a big technicalities learning curve, but I wasn't really making progress on the app itself. So I think I was kind of starting to feel like, fuck, dude, like, how is this going to lead to some kind of sustainable online business? I started applying to jobs. Again, in that video, I kind of rambled about the jobs I was looking at, stuff like that, and the possibilities, the possible money-making opportunities, and none of them came to fruition whatsoever. So that was, I mean, I wouldn't say that sucked. To some degree, I didn't take advantage of them. I think I just like did a few job applications. I think I got an offer. This guy called me and was like, hey, you applied for our job. And I was like, yes. And he was like, would you like to move to Atlanta? And I was like, no. And he was like, okay, well, we'll let you know if we've got something else. And I was like, ah, man, that was like a, full-time job. That was this semester though. We're moving past that. That's a later thing. At this point I didn't know that was coming. Point is, end of fall 2023, I was putting in job applications. I was thinking about building more online presence around coding. I've posted a couple. I actually got an email today. Damn it, this is still whatever. I got an email today from somebody who looked at an article I published about how to combine the Swift singleton design pattern, or just a general singleton design pattern, with Swift Data, which is the new persistent data model or persistent data package for Swift UI. And it is not great for using singletons, but I figured out a way to do it. So I made a post about it. Although if I'm being honest, now I've kind of moved away from that. I implemented in my app. It kind of sucked, and I use it a little bit still, but for the most part, it was a bad idea. But I made a post about it. Somebody commented. I was thinking about going more into building an online presence around coding, and I didn't do that at all. Um, what else did I not do? I said there were a lot of things that I was thinking about doing. Laws of Human Nature action guide. I was like, I'm gonna do this, and then I didn't do it. I was planning on continuing to upload the Pride course, and I didn't do that either. I could get back to that, but it kind of feels like a waste of time if I'm being honest. It's not a great series of videos, and it's not really like drawing in attention. I mean, it was a good goal, and I think I learned and I grew a lot from it when I made it, and I'm sure I'll at some point continue to upload the rest of the videos. I have the file somewhere. I'll do that anyway. But I kind of just forgot to keep doing that. And I don't know, maybe it's not a wise use of my time. But yeah, Laws of Human Nature action guide, man, that thing's been something on the back of my mind for like 3 or 4 years now. I have the action guide. I still have it. It's done. I've used it. And I've always wanted to make a YouTube series around it. Maybe I'll do it one day. Maybe I won't. We'll see. I'll talk more about this in the next video that I make, which is a video I'll release after like a fuck ton of other videos. But in the spring 2024 reflection video, I'm going to talk about I might talk about how I'm getting kind of dissatisfied with, or I'm kind of moving away from this whole like online self-development world. I think there's a lot of value in it, and I think it's brought me a lot of value throughout my life, and I'm very grateful for it. But I don't know if it's something I want to be super involved in. And I do think to some extent there is a lot of bullshit in it, obviously, as there is with any large scale trending thing. Unfortunately, given my app, I kind of have to participate in it, so I don't know, we'll see. But these are all later problems. But yeah, 2023, I had some good existential crises. One was, what are you putting your sense of self-worth in? I think when you get into good shape, when you are going out, you have an excellent social life, when you have good grades, when you have intelligence, when you can say smart things, when you look good, when you, I don't know, bang hella baddies, when you have like healthy family, whatever it is, when you have something that's good, that aligns with your values, it's easy for you to put your sense of self-worth into that thing. And then when that thing is gone, you are overwhelmed with a sense of worthlessness or valuelessness. And I think this is where attachment comes from to a great extent. I value my friendships, and I value having a good, solid social life. But I think it's been easy for me to put my sense of self-worth into having a big friend group. So when I'm in school and people are way smarter than me, I'm like, they might be smarter than me, but I've got a better friend group than them. I'm more popular, or some bullshit like that. And it's not healthy. That's not inner peace. And I think it creates attachment to these externals and these things that can vanish, that can disappear. And I know for a time as I was sobering up, I did this with social life. Everybody else had big social life. I had no social life because I was sobering up and trying to get my shit together. So I kind of put being Mr. Self-Development as the thing that gave me a sense of self-worth when I compared myself to others, and even in some sense when I compared myself to myself. I didn't have to, there's an intrinsicity, is that a word? Intrinsicity to it. There's an intrinsic quality to it that was sense of self-worth gathered from some external thing, or some fleeting thing that is impermanent, and as a result, attachments get made. I've certainly felt this during periods where I have very good habits and I'm on a good grind and I'm like, wow, I'm freaking killing it in life, and then I feel very attached to that thing, and I'm like, man, why am I so afraid to lose my routines? And I think a part of that comes from this sense of self-worth being invested into that thing. So I thought a lot about that last semester, and I think a part of that was just because I lost a lot of the things that I put my self-worth in, perhaps. Or maybe it's because at times I started to take my sense of self-worth out of these things, and I saw how much more I enjoyed the things for themselves, without having that attachment. Anyway, I think I thought about gratitude. I don't think I thought. I know I thought. I did think about gratitude quite a bit, and learning to be a grateful individual regardless of externals. So oftentimes when I was feeling gratitude for things, this gratitude would create attachment because I would feel like my life is good right now because I have this thing. But then I was afraid if I lost that thing, now life is no longer good. And I was like, well, shit, what do I do if every time I start practicing gratitude, I start to experience attachment? And then once I start to experience attachment, I begin to feel anxiety. And then I'm no longer content. And that's starting with practicing gratitude. And I wasn't sure what to do with that. I think I've talked about this before, most likely. But ultimately, what I ended up doing was choosing to practice gratitude no matter the external circumstances. So, as existential crises presented themselves or undesirable circumstances presented themselves, such as having a smaller friend group, such as not doing as well as I would like to in school, I decided I'm going to commit myself to consistently finding things to be grateful for, even if it's outrageous. That way, I don't attach gratitude, that feeling of gratitude, to external things, but instead I attach that, I have that feeling, that ability to be grateful internally. And I think there's a lot of value to that. Some other externals or some other existential crises, I think those are really the two main ones. Oh no, there was a huge one actually. I reassessed everything that I wanted in life. That was massive, dude. And that wasn't so much just fall 2023. That was 2023 as a whole. And I think it all just came together at the end of 2023 and wrapped itself up. And I was like, all right, this is done. I know what I want now. And essentially, it all started one day. I was on the floor of my old apartment, not this one, and I was stretching. I was doing like a chest stretch. It was really nice, and I was like, man, this do feel good. And the thought arose, what am I doing all this for? What do I want out of life? And much of my life I've wanted greatness. I think it was like my mission in life. It was my purpose. And sure, there was the side quest on drugs, but even when I was on drugs, I still desired greatness. In fact, I think I thought I could attain greatness while on drugs. And that is actually not invalid. It's certainly possible. It certainly depends on how you define greatness. And how I defined greatness was very vague, but it was having some degree of significance in the world, ending up in history books, being notable, being contributing to the world in some grand way. And this pursuit became perhaps more altruistic as time progressed, as I got out of drugs, and maybe more realistic as I started to become a good goal setter, became capable of accomplishing things, established good habits, and had a degree of knowledge that is broader than the average individual, and had an ability to think about that knowledge in such a way that I could discover useful ideas and perhaps use that in some productive way. And I had a few estimates on how I want to go about that. Some of these things are still things that I want to do, such as changing the school system. I think is something that I would want to participate in, establishing a new school system. I had this idea for this thing called, I wanted to call it Solomon's House, which would be like a whole fucking thing. And that's still in the back of my mind somewhere. I want to write a book. There are other things I want to do. I want to make short films. I want to make a TV show. And these are all things that I want to do, but for a long time, it was I want to accomplish these things. I mean, to some degree, like, to attain greatness. And like purpose was like the highest good, I guess. And like having a family and my social life and the smaller, I guess, more humble things in life, the morning breakfasts with the fam and the little cabin trips with the friends and having barbecues with some people, all of that was kind of like this shady gray zone when I thought about my future. And the only thing that I saw was giving public speeches and doing things in parliament or some shit. I don't fucking know, but being interviewed. I would see myself like being interviewed and talking about the new school system that I'm going to develop. And in these fantasies, I would think deeply about what that school system would be, its advantages, its disadvantages, and so on. But I don't know, my experiences, a lot of the things that I studied actually in 2022 and a little bit in 2021, I think put the value of all of that into perspective. One person I've always admired very much, well, two would be Abraham Lincoln and Martin Luther King Jr. I think they're the two highly admirable individuals that I know a decent amount historically, and I understand to some extent, who pursued greatness in some sense. I think my later conceptions of greatness were modeled by these two individuals, and as I studied them more, I found out the things that they did for the world were not the things that they actually wanted to do. And as a kid, and maybe at the beginning of sobriety, was like, I want to end up like Abraham Lincoln or Martin Luther King Jr. Like, I want to accomplish some shit like them. And when I got to actually understand them through studying history, I found that they were more performing a duty for society and sacrificing the things that they actually wanted. Martin Luther King Jr. wanted to go to the North and study philosophy and learn and be an academic. Abraham Lincoln, I don't know too much about what he wanted, but he definitely didn't. I mean, he wanted to free the slaves, and he wanted to fight that war, win that war, bring positive change to the nation. And it was like a duty that he fulfilled, but it wasn't. I think deep down what he wanted was a simple life and a quiet life. And I think that in some sense that's what they both wanted. And when I started to think about that, I was like, damn, like, that's pretty fascinating. And I looked at the people who wanted greatness, who desired greatness. Napoleon Bonaparte, I think I kind of relate to him a little bit. I don't know if he's the best guy to relate to, but whatever, is what it is. He was like, he had dreams and ambitions when he was young. He never imagined himself as being somebody insignificant in history, but it's not like he had the happiest life ever, So, I don't know, I started to realize that true leadership was a sacrifice, and that attaining greatness was an undesirable experience. The experience of Napoleon Bonaparte, he was in no real place of inner peace. So, I don't know, I reassessed a lot. And I remember I was sitting there and I was stretching, and that thought came to me, and normally be like, to pursue and accomplish these goals, because the experience of pursuing and accomplishing goals is great. I'm not saying I abandoned that. But I think maybe there's an excess of importance placed on that. And when this question arose, I was like, shit, man, like, that's not enough in some sense. Like, that's not satisfactory. So over the course of the following, and it was a pretty existential moment, if I'm being totally honest. The thing I'd been telling myself, or the thing I had been pursuing, the thing I, in some sense, quit drugs for to attain greatness, was all of the sudden meaningless. Posthumous fame was like, who the fuck is going to care about the things that I did 2,000 years from now? And realistically, your ability to change the world is pretty limited. Nothing new is under the sun. The reality is, no matter how much I accomplish, there's still going to be homelessness and suffering and some form of slavery and just terrible, terrible things all throughout the future of human history, and none of that can be changed. So I was like, shit, man, what do I do now? And what I did was I finished stretching, and I went and I ate breakfast or something. But over the course of the following year, I think I started to value the idea of having a wife and kids and a family, and that was shit. Like, especially when I was on drugs, I was like, fuck all of that. And then even when I sobered up, I guess it was a direction I felt myself moving, but it wasn't necessarily a direction that I had moved. And over the course of 2023, I had a lot of experiences that made me realize this is something that I really value. This is something that I want to pursue. And then also made me realize there's a bunch of new inner demons that I have to face in order to go down that path. Because finding a wife, for example, being in a healthy, constructive marriage that lasts and that is positive, that is a net good experience, is extremely hard. And there's a huge amount of inner turmoil and unconscious forces that you have to be willing to face and capable of overcoming in order to have that work out, in the same sense that sobering up requires facing all of these inner demons, and pursuing goals requires facing all of these inner demons, and establishing healthy habits, for so on and so forth. And it's the set of inner demons for all of these things is going to be different, and some will have more, some will have less. But I was like, shit, man, I got a bunch of inner demons around relationships that I've been running from for freaking ages, and now I'm gonna have to face them. And that was kind of my attitude going into 2024 is, I guess the next thing is to seek more balance. Of course, I'm still pursuing goals aggressively. I still want to accomplish these things that I talked about earlier: public speaking, book writing, TV show making. But I've also started to think a lot more about family life and friend life. And when I'm in my 30s, 40s, I want to be able to go on ski trips to the mountains. And I visualize that much more. And having my parents and my best friends and my family all come to a cabin on a ski slope and having Christmas together and having a Christmas tree and all this bullshit that I've never thought about before. I was like, fuck, like that's something that I want. And that also means I got to start moving in that direction. And I've got to start moving that direction from a place of peace and contentment, not a place of need and desperation, if you will. Because you gotta enjoy the journey. And it's weird. It felt like pursuing this happy life, right? I don't know what to call those two things. There's like the purpose side of life, your contribution to the world, and your family life. All of a sudden, like the pursuing of this, like the desire was different. The desire that I had to resist to pursue it in excess, I guess, or to put an excess sense of importance on it, or to put a sense of need or anxiety that I won't be able to create it. It was different than those same things when looking at a goal. But maybe it's similar to some degree, because I have had an easier time detaching from the outcomes and just doing the things that it takes to get them done than I have had with goals. I think I worded that right. Actually, I don't think I did, but whatever, man. Anyway, so that was the primary existential crisis of 2023. So I sat down, I said, hey, this is what's going on, fall 2023. I did decent in my classes. I got 3 classes done. I had to drop one of them. Thank God I did. Apparently, like, half the class failed because the teacher screwed everyone on the last exam. And I dropped the class right at the beginning of the semester because I was like, this is going to be fucked. And then I retook it this semester and it was way easier. So that was fucking clutch. I was super disappointed in myself back then, but I mean, I guess it worked out in the end. I got contacts, so that's cool. But yeah, I think that's it. That was it for 2023. Christmas break was cool. I didn't do as much as I may have wanted to, but I got some good coding done. This is what it was. I did these customer discovery interviews. That gave me a huge degree of direction and understanding or perspective on where to take this app. Before, I was honestly just shooting in the dark, and then I showed a bunch of people the app. I asked them a bunch of questions and I got a bunch of feedback, and then that kind of set off my direction for 2024 and the app that I'm developing now, which is refined and fine-tuned and focused. And yeah, I'd say that's about that. That's 2023. And then at the end of break, I also created a vlog for this. I'm probably never gonna edit it because there's so much content that I recorded, but it was fun to record the content. Um, but essentially, I did a what did I call it? Silence and solitude. I did 4 days of silence and solitude at my parents' cabin. It's like a river cabin, kind of out in the middle of nowhere. So I drove down January 1st, spent 4 days there. My buddy actually came down, had dinner with me one night, which was fun. But I spent 4 days there, reflecting on 2023, journaling, creating principles, ideas, thoughts, just figuring my shit out, connecting my experiences to my principles, trying to learn as much as I could from my experiences and preparing myself for 2024, laying out my plans and my goals for 2024. Just a shit ton of reflecting. I did a shit ton of meditating. I did a good amount of exercising, and I did some cold plunges in the river. So that was 2023, and now I'm probably not gonna record 2024 right now. I want to drink some water. I know I'm gonna go dancing tonight, so maybe get ready for that. Eat some food. I'm kind of hungry. Yeah. See you later, folks.